Okay, today I'm going to take a campfire look at a late night sing-along that you might do around the campfire at 4 o'clock in the morning. This is not going to be the 9 o'clock in the evening campfire tune. But we're going to look at Neil Young's Helpless. Now this is a song that is really basic in the way we're going to look at it today. And I really like to have students master the strumming pattern that we're going to talk about in Helpless. Now, it's a perfect strum for a relatively slow song. So you wouldn't do this in Friend of the Devil or anything that has a little bit of energy to it. Not that this doesn't have energy, it's just that it's a little on the slow side. So when you have a strumming pattern where you don't really want to hear a lot of accents in the middle of it, what you're going to do is hit the first beat as a down, as we're always going down on the beats, and it's actually going to ring as long as a half note, not a quarter note. If I was just letting notes ring for a quarter note, if I was going to play a whole bunch of quarter notes in a measure, I'm playing a D chord. I would just have 4 strokes in every measure. It'd be counted 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how the quarter notes would work in a strumming pattern. And they would all sound the same and they'd all be right in time with the beats. And if I was playing eighth notes, I'd be playing down, up, down, up. These would be eighths. Now my hand is still moving at the exact same speed whether I'm doing quarters or eighths. Well, I might even do half notes. And a really important thing about a half note in a strumming pattern is you don't do this. You keep moving at the speed of quarter notes even though you're not playing anything on that second beat. So I'd be counting this 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's really important that I keep moving on beats 2 and 4 and not just freeze like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the strumming pattern we're going to do in Helpless is going to be 1, 2, a half note, followed by a quarter note, and then a pair of eighth notes. So it's down. I'm going to say rest on 2. It's not really a rest. It's a rest because we're not hearing something, but your hand is still moving. So we've got a down on 1, a rest on 2, which means a fake down. You can't freeze there, okay? Down, rest, down, down, up. That would be counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. One of the most basic strums out there that you use in slower songs. Now, the way that fits into Helpless is we only have 3 chords we have to play here. A D chord, an A chord, and a G chord. These are 3 chords in the key of D. It's starting on chord 1, which is D, going to A, which is 5, because the notes in a D scale would be D, E, F sharp, G, and A. A is chord 5, and then it goes to G, which is chord 4. So we have 1 measure of D, 1 measure of A, and then 2 measures of G. So we strum through it, keeping our hand moving the whole time. When you're going from D to A, the really important thing is your first finger is already on the right string, and actually kind of at the right place, except for one thing. So when you're changing from D to A, make sure that your first finger just moves back a tiny bit, about a half a finger's width, 1/8 of an inch, to make room for your second and third fingers to use this A fingering. Now, as if you've seen many of my videos, if you've seen any of my videos where I talk about an A chord, the fingering I really prefer for A is your first finger in the middle of the other 2. First finger on the 3rd string, second finger on the 4th string, third finger underneath it on the 2nd string. So that they're all squeezed in as close as possible to the 2nd fret. So that's what we're trying to do on our A chord there. So I strum through the A, and then I'm going to G next, and again the fingering I like for G is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers. Especially in this case, there are times we use alternate ones, but this is a great time to use that fingering for G. If you're not comfortable with it, get comfortable with it. Make that the way you play G, make that your default way of playing G. So, one last thing, this strum ends with an up. When you have a last up in a strum, you need to make sure that that's when you've already let go of the chord. You don't hang on to the chord, so that that's clean, and then you'll end up being late to the next chord or it'll buzz. So you let go of the chord, except I'm going to A, so I didn't let go of this finger, but my fingers let go. Now I land on the A, and down, down, up and off to give me time to get to the G. Listen to that carefully. Now, when you do it in the real world, it's not going to be as emphasized as that. So, here's what it's going to sound like in the real application. The reason it gets kind of lost in the background, which is exactly what you want, is because you got to come in really strong on the first beat of the measure and make sure that that chord is loud and clear. So anyway, that's all we have to talk about with Helpless, and this is a great song to practice playing with a metronome. I have this in most of my target lessons, matter of fact, probably all of them. So all of the very extensive lessons that we have here include metronome play-alongs. But I'm going to set a metronome here at 110 and strum through the chord progression 4 times. 4 times through the same line would be a verse, and there's really only 3 verses in the song. At the end, they just keep singing the Helpless stuff. So let's listen to this metronome. That's too fast. Let's crank it down to 100. Let's crank it down to 94. Nope, even slower. 86. 2, 3, 4. Keep your hand moving the whole time, especially on those beats too. So that's pretty much all you have to do to strum through Helpless and be ready to sing it. And if that's not a good key for you to sing it in, transpose it to a different one. You can figure out how to do that. You're only playing chords 1, 5, and 4. 1, 4, and 5, but in the sequence that they go in the song, it goes from 1 to 5 to 4. So, but if you're still having a little trouble with that strum, practice along with what I just did right there, nice and slow. I had my metronome again set at 86. Neil Young has done this at a lot of different speeds depending on you know what it is. The version on the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young album, Deja Vu, is a little quicker than that, significantly actually. But a lot of his live versions are slowed way down. So I'll save the long story about how he got Crosby, Stills and Nash to play it as slow as he wanted when they recorded Deja Vu back in 1970. That's when they were recording it, I believe. So anyway, that's it for the campfire look at Helpless. Hope you like it. Get that strum down. It's really useful.